Everybody say, we want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sports Buzz, a Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable, Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this September 28th. Where did the month of September go? My goodness. Certainly has been feeling more like summer recently, although the heat wave finally broke in the middle of the evening last night. So that was nice. More of a fall-like day today as summer returned with a vengeance right after summer ended this past week. It was hot. But we are here live, back in studio. We were off last week. Work got in the way once again. We've been having some difficulty with the work schedule, the show schedule, and everybody's schedule. We did thankfully get our usual director, Mr. Mike Toohey, back in studio today, and he is in there directing the show. His show, Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. Mike has been having trouble himself getting in to do shows, but it is official. We are booked in studio next week. Hopefully going to tape up 2 shows, so we will be in here doing a show for him. Be nice to see that happen again and see what he wants to talk about. It's been a while. But as Mike comes back, Bob goes away, so we don't have the full complement of crew. I do not have my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Rott Jr., here sitting in with me, so I'm not going to be able to chat with him. His show, Spotlight On, Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12. Bob, as some of you who watch the show know, is a firefighter, volunteer firefighter, and he is on call right now, doing what he does, saving lives, making people safe. So I told him to be safe out there and not to worry about getting to the show. We will catch him when we catch him. Programming note, we will be off again next week, and then maybe after that we can cruise back into a regular schedule once again where we're here mostly every week. It's been a little rough lately, but we are here now, 30 minutes, 6:30 to 7, so if you want to give a call, 203-792-4101 is the number. I wish Bob was here for multiple reasons, of course, but I also wanted to have a firefighter's view, somebody who I know has a lot of respect for the flag and the national anthem, here to give me his opinion on what has been taking place around the sports world, around the NFL. Of course, our president making his comments. I'm not going to put words in Bob's mouth. I know Bob fully understands the rights of citizens, and he does appreciate the fact that there is the right of people to have peaceful protests even during the national anthem. I think Bob is starting to wish that this would end because maybe he's more concerned with the fact that he just would like to enjoy his football Sunday. I think one of the things that we could talk about is just everybody would just like to enjoy a regular day, a regular week, every week. And it comes straight from the White House. There is something for everybody to deal with. In sports terms, when you watch a sporting event, you know, it's often said the referee is a good referee if you don't know his name, meaning he didn't do anything bad during the game and draw attention to himself, and you didn't have to figure out who is the ref. Well, maybe the president could take that. You know, just do your job and stay out of everybody's head and mind and business all day, every day. Why do we have to constantly be, you know, reminded of the fact you're doing a bad job? Because we know you every day. You're just getting in everybody's business all the time. It is relentless, non-stop. Just go about your business and run the country the way it's supposed to be run for all the people, not just your base, your specific base that you played to in your campaign, and then now you're playing to, even though you have already won the election, and which leads to you going on these campaign-style rallies in Alabama last week, where all of a sudden you're playing to your base, which is all you have left because your popularity numbers are rock bottom, lowest of any president ever in the history at this point in time, and in America, unfortunately, you can win election even though you're disliked by the majority of the people in the country, and he knows that, so he goes to these events and he has his rallies, and the next thing you know, he's calling out the NFL for some of the guys who are making peaceful protests during the national anthem, which rankles people for sure. People would like to think of the national anthem as a sacred time, as something that should not be messed with. But, you know, the flag does stand for freedom. So if you want freedom and you want that flag to stand for freedom, you might have to deal with the fact that you should be able to express your freedom in the face of that flag. And that comes along the line of being able to protest peacefully, mind you. So anyways, he creates this huge hullabaloo this past weekend. On the heels of what really started the whole thing was the NBA situation. Another championship team, the Golden State Warriors, were talking about how they were probably not going to go to the White House. Because why would anybody, especially a player of color, want to go stand in the White House with a man who, during the campaign, courted the KKK's support and has called them good people after what took place in Charlottesville? People refer to it as a dog whistle situation. I'm starting to refer to it as a bullhorn situation. It's no dog whistle. He is clearly on the side of racism. We've seen it firsthand. Violent protesters engaging, and there were KKK members, white supremacists, and neo-Nazis engaging in a violent protest that led to death. People of America dying in that event. He called them good people, and then later, when those people were being outed on social media with their pictures and their identities, he said it wasn't fair for those people to be outed. Their identity should be protected because they were thusly getting fired from doing their jobs, fired from their actual jobs because they were outed as being members of these groups that went and took place in that violent protest. So we know where he stands on that. Now when it comes to a peaceful protest by a black man who is drawing attention to injustice against minorities by not every police officer, but by police officers in this country, the facts are out there, proof is there. We have seen it day to day. There's protests going on in St. Louis right now. Another police officer was acquitted. Lack of accountability for the actions of the police officers in these, ridiculous actions where, innocent people, unarmed, are being shot dead in the street, oftentimes during routine traffic stops. And that's what they are trying to draw attention to. They are not happy about that, and they have every right to not be happy about that. So they conduct themselves in a peaceful, dignified way, taking a knee during the national anthem, and he calls them SOBs. I'm not sure what we can say here on the air. I figure we probably could say that, but I'm not going to. You know what he said, SOBs. And he says they should all be fired. So the guys who are white supremacists, KKK members, and neo-Nazis who engage in a violent protest that leads to death of American citizens are good people who should not be fired. And these guys are SOBs who should be fired. No dog whistle, people. That is a full bullhorn situation. So it led to this unbelievable. And okay, I just want to point out a couple of things with this. Colin Kaepernick was the player who started the protest last year before Donald Trump was even elected because the issue predates him. And he, in his first protest in a preseason game, removed himself from the team and sat on the bench during the national anthem. He was roundly criticized. He went into the community there after the game in San Francisco and he met with military personnel. He asked them, he said he felt extremely strong about this protest he was enacting and he really wanted to continue it, but he did not want to do it in a disrespectful way if it was possible. They told him, military members told him, if you want to protest during the national anthem, take a knee and do it in a peaceful manner. And that is not disrespect to the flag. That is what he was told by military members. I doubt that many people actually know that, and I doubt that many people know that in general or know that Colin Kaepernick did that. But that's what he did, and then he proceeded to do that for the rest of the year. Every game, before the game, he took a knee in line with the rest of his teammates, peacefully, helmet off, and conducted himself in this protest manner. And he, at the end of the season, said he had made his point. He would no longer do that again. He was going to just work in the community, which he has done, donating millions of dollars of his own money and also his time to needy causes in the community. actions and deeds as well as dollars from Colin Kaepernick. The other thing I think which should be pointed out, all the players who have taken up his mantle because he is not in the league anymore, you want to say maybe he's being blackballed, blacklisted, whatever, not being signed. I have mixed feelings on that. I think his productivity level is a large reason why he is not in the league. I don't think he was a good quarterback the last couple of years. And if you want to sign a backup quarterback, you don't want a quarterback who is going to draw a lot of attention to himself because, for one, he's a big marquee name, and that casts a shadow over your starter. And for two, a backup is not supposed to make a lot of money. He would probably garnish a decent amount of money. And other reasons such as that, football related, I think there's reasons why he is not signed. But I think there's also, obviously, the distraction of his protest is another reason why he is not signed. But, so anyways, the point being, the players who had started to do the protests, about 6 or 7 of them this year at the beginning of the season, who Trump addressed with his, ridiculous comments, none of them, nor the over 200 players who then followed suit this weekend as a sign of unity in the NFL, are guys who want to be doing this. Do you think these guys actually wish they woke up every day and had to deal with the news of another minority shot by a police officer and have to deal with this situation and say, you know what, there is a reason for us to make this protest. We have a cause, and it is not a great cause, and it is certainly not a crybaby millionaire cause, which is what a lot of people are saying. I don't want to deal with these crybaby millionaires. These guys make millions of dollars. What does that have to do with standing up for the rights of minorities who are being shot dead in the street unjustly? How is that a crybaby type situation? That is not a crybaby type situation. That is not anything to do with what they are doing. These guys, if you look at it and you ask the simple question, do I really think that these guys wish they were doing this, that they felt that they had to do this? I don't think you would get the answer coming back at you saying yes. They would not want to be doing this, not at all. They wish they could be waking up in a much better country, and that is what the protest is about. Making the country be better. What is wrong with that? There is really nothing wrong with that, and that is actually an ultimate act of patriotism, saying the country needs to be better, and that's what they are trying to say. I get the whole thing. It is the anthem, and people just automatically go to the situation. You cannot disrespect the anthem. Again, I say, if you want a flag of freedom, you also should want a flag that you can express your freedom in front of, and that is what they are doing. So, you have to ask those type of questions. And another thing that is worth mentioning, once again, it is the people who stand up and make the stand here that are the ones who get critiqued. They're the ones who get criticized. What about the people who led to these protests taking place? Where is the accountability? Where is the discussion about that? Maybe we should talk about why these protests are taking place more than the actual protests taking place. That would be something good too. So those are some of the things I wanted to mention as far as what I feel is being overlooked. In the league this weekend obviously was a complete response. Maybe not necessarily to the initial protest, but it was obviously a response to Donald Trump. The owners, the coaches, everybody was 100% in support of this, saying this is outrageous for you to come out and say this about these guys. Most people who follow sports either closely or not don't realize that these guys are actually in the community, whether they have a cause like this serious one or not, but they're in the community all the time. If you follow a team and you follow the beat writers on a regular basis like I do, you always see the articles, maybe not every week, but mostly throughout the season, multiple occasions where they are in the community building things for minorities or just people in need, going to hospitals, visiting with sick children, putting up gymnasiums, parks, things like that, helping people in the community because they know that the community supports them and they get to play the game they love because of that. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. And, just back to the whole president thing. I mean, is it nuclear war you want, or is it a race war you want, or is it both? for once, maybe take a week off. You were supposed to go on vacation a few weeks ago. That didn't go well for anybody because it was just nuclear tension. Now you're back and it's race war tension. So let everybody just enjoy themselves and live a life without you in our face on a day-to-day basis. And if my viewers are like viewers out there of football games who want to go ahead and burn jerseys, burn tickets because of this, and they want to tune me out because of my opinion on that, that's a risk I'm going to have to take. And I would certainly take a knee with these guys and take that risk. These guys are risking their livelihood and their well-being because you know in this country they get threats because of what they are doing. And that is a serious risk, not an action of a crybaby, who's crying over what? Over a serious issue. That is not somebody who's being a crybaby millionaire. So maybe these are things you can think about as you try to understand this complex situation. For one, in this country, there's no nuance anymore. It's either one side or the other. You're either pro-police or anti-police if you side with them. You're either pro-America or anti-America if you side with them. There should be discussions, and there should be discussions allowed. And there can be reasonable disagreements, and that doesn't mean then you have to lose a friend or anything like that. Another thing that is completely bothersome about the President of the United States, people who are friends with each other don't like each other anymore. Why? Because of these ridiculous issues. All right, Mike McFadden, the Jet Maniac, is here, and maybe we can settle down and get into some actual sports talk. What do you say, Mike?
I think so. I applaud what you just said, by the way.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate that. Did you applaud your Jets this weekend?
Well, it's like, I want to say something. I'll tell you off the air what I was going to say, but let me put it this way. The win, 20-0 against a Dolphin team that wasn't playing that well in the game. I mean, they won't go more than 0-16. But my thing about it is that maybe one more win.
That's it. So you're on the side of the I want the draft pick, basically, is what you're trying to tell me.
Well, see, I want them to play, as well as they can. But the only thing about that is, it's kind of like going to a gunfight with like a pop gun there. You know what I mean, there, Scott? I mean,
well, they certainly skinned the Finns. Maybe they had a knife because they did some skinning of those Dolphins this weekend. 20-6, defensive domination. Nice win. Oddity with the Miami Dolphins schedule because they are in London this week. Of course, the hurricane kept them from playing the first game of the season. So that means it'll be week 5 before Miami gets a legitimate home game this year. That's a little bit of an oddity for Miami, who is 1-1. Jets moved to 1-2. Bob's not here, so we can't talk to him about his G-men. Unbelievable. Looked like they were not going to score any points again. Then all of a sudden they explode for 24 points against the Eagles in the second half. May have been all in the fourth quarter that those 24 points came. And they actually took a 21-14 lead, a 24-21 lead, and then it was tied, and then they lost on a 61-yard field goal by a rookie kicker, I believe, right? In Philly. Unbelievable. And if you want to complain about NFL players' actions, go ahead all day long and complain about Odell Beckham's actions in the end zone after scoring a touchdown. I heard one person say something that I will say, maybe that's a stretch because I do not think Odell was thinking this. But, he was called an SOB, and the B stands for a female dog. And then he proceeded to act like a dog in the end zone on all fours, lifting his leg like he was urinating on the pylon. I mean, come on. Especially on a week like this, with all this going on, Odell. Really? So I'm not that sad that they lost. 0-3, the G-men are, as they travel to Tampa Bay, who lost this weekend themselves. They are 1-1. Patriots, last second, the Texans come in and really give them everything they can handle in this game and they pull it out. The new receiver from New Orleans, Aaron Cooks, becomes a fan favorite quick as Brady hits him for his 5th touchdown pass of the day. 36-33 is the final. Cooks catches it with about 30 seconds left in the corner of the end zone, taps 2 feet down before going out of bounds. Great play. They win. But the Texans and Deshaun Watson looks good early on for the Texans. He played a great game, and it is also worth noting he donated his first game check to relief for the hurricane. Was for the hurricane was he donating to Houston or the Puerto Rico relief that's needed now?
I thought it was the Hurricane Harvey.
Harvey, okay, so which would make more sense with him playing in Houston. But either way, donating his first game check, so he comes right out. And of course, we know J.J. Watt. The total for that donation was up to, last I heard, $37 million. Unreal. These are the type of things that these SOBs are doing in the league and in their community. Meanwhile, the president hasn't even gotten off his you-know-what to go help Puerto Rico. How about you go ahead and take care of that and concentrate on that sort of thing. So some wild games, though. The finishes were unbelievable. The Giant finish, the Patriot finish, all happened at the same time. The Bears were going to overtime, beating the Steelers. The Packers going overtime, beating the Bengals. Lions getting stopped at the goal line against the Falcons in a crazy play. I thought it was a touchdown myself. I've seen the replay a million times. I think he was in. But even if he wasn't, why was there a 10-second runoff when the game was stopped for replay? There wasn't a penalty, offensive penalty. I know that there's the runoff when there's a penalty situation. Why would the Lions be penalized with a runoff when they had to stop the game because of a replay? That makes no sense. Some big games coming up this weekend. I'm just going to run them off real quick because we got to get to baseball as well, and we're probably running out of time. London game this weekend, Saints, Dolphins, Titans versus Texans, which is a pretty good game. 2 teams at 2-1. Titans look pretty good. They beat the Seahawks this weekend. That was a good game. Lions, Vikings, another 2 teams playing at 2-1. Bills at 2-1, surprising, against the Falcons at 3-0. Falcons, of course, won the Super Bowl, and they are 3-0. They could easily be 1-2. Steelers, Ravens. Steelers, bad loss this weekend against the Bears. Ravens crushed by the Jaguars in London. Rams and Cowboys, 2-1. That's looking like a pretty good game. Rams looking relatively decent. Raiders and Broncos, another pretty good game. And the Monday night game is Redskins at 2-1, Chiefs 3-0. All right, baseball. The Brewers were playing today, and they were looking desperately to keep their season alive. They were 2.5 out heading into their game against the Reds today of the wild card against the Rockies. They were eliminated in the Central by the Cubs, who clinched the division last night. Rockies and Diamondbacks look like they are going to be the 2 teams playing that wild card. Rockies doing everything they can to hold off the Brewers, the hard-charging Brewers, but it looks like they're going to do it. The Red Sox at 92-66 hold a 3-game lead on the Yankees at 89-66. This has been a compelling last few weeks because the Yankees have certainly kept the pressure on the Red Sox, and the Red Sox have responded by winning an 8-1 road trip. Meanwhile, the Yankees have played 17 of the last 14 games, finishing the season at home, or 17 of the last 20 when you count the fact that the Hurricane gave them those 3 games at Citi Field against Tampa Bay. But the schedule had them playing 14 out of the final 17 games at home. Come on, Mike. What's up with that?
Very interesting scheduling.
That is ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. They send them on the road for a 3-game series. That's it? For the last 17 of the year? Give me a break. Judge, the rookie, gets 50 home runs and counting. So he breaks Mark McGwire's record of 49. So, he did respond with a solid September after going 2 solid months, batting 180 and striking out over 70 times and hitting no home runs. But he did have a strong September. Maybe he likes that home field advantage, short porch, Twins clinched the wild card, so it looks like, unless the Red Sox really blow it this weekend, 4 against Houston, who's only 1.5 behind Cleveland for home field advantage. So an interesting dynamic there with the Red Sox and Astros most likely set up to play each other in the first round of the playoffs. How much do they want to go hard this weekend, but the Red Sox haven't clinched. They got to do that, and so it's an interesting series. But the Twins did clinch the wild card. First team ever to lose 100 games last year, previous season, and then make the playoffs the following season. So hats off to the Twinkies. I fully expect them to go full-blown Twinkie-dumb against the Yankees. We've seen that act before. They always lose to the Yankees like they did, last week, getting swept by the Yankees, I believe. So that should probably happen. The Dodgers remain the top team in baseball, but after maxing out, I believe, at 55 games over 500, they have been 10 games below since that stretch, so really not finishing well for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do, and they'll most likely play, they will play the winner of the Diamondbacks or the Rockies one-game wild card, if that's the way it plays out. And the Diamondbacks have been beaten up on the Dodgers, and the Rockies are playing the Dodgers to finish the weekend, and they've also beaten up the Dodgers recently. So it's going to be real interesting. What did you think of the NBA Carmelo Anthony traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder as we got only a couple minutes left, Mike?
The first thing I thought is, are the Knicks actually trying to win, or are they just trying to help other teams win? Because when you look at what they received, and all of this is due to Phil Jackson.
Yeah, well, thankfully Phil is gone. Now Melo is gone. Dwayne Wade is in Cleveland. What's going on in the NBA? Unbelievable. And we will get into this in upcoming weeks. FBI infiltrating the NCAA, never a good sign. And Master P, Coach Pitino, on indefinite leave, most likely completely fired. Another scandal in Louisville for Pitino, not one that he can escape this time. All right, and another guy who couldn't escape was Coach Heaps from the New England Revolution, fired after some disgraceful performances on the road. That is it. We will see you in a couple weeks as we're off again next week. Stay strong, America.